The views and opinions expressed by guests on this show are those of our guests, not necessarily ours. We are interested in presenting different viewpoints and strive to be neutral parties. We leave it up to you to make your own judgments. Welcome to Vision Chat, a podcast about spiritual topics, with your hosts, Virginia and Stina.
Okay, welcome back to Vision Chat. In this episode, Virginia and we are interviewing Alma. Alma Skolmen is a powerful woman who has found her own way to work in this society where she follows her menstrual cycle. She is also an intuitive woman who helps many people on their spiritual journey and their spiritual awakening. She describes herself as a channel where she gets information from the universe. She is a mentor, business coach, and clairvoyant, where she can read energy and notice any blocks in your life. She offers different courses when it comes to work environment, lectures, and sensory experiences. She is the founder of the Purpose Club, where there is a community of women that supports and inspire each other, and where you can get access to different workshops, rituals, manifestation, meditation, podcast classes, music, and much more. Welcome, Alma. Would you like starting off telling a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, it was very nice to hear an introduction of me. It's always nice to get insights in how other people sees me. I think you described me pretty well. I work as an intuitive, a spiritual coach, and I have this passion when it comes to helping people understanding how their soul is speaking to them when it comes to like following your intuition. We all have these answers within ourselves, and I feel when we get to know that voice, our lives get so much easier. So I'm on a journey when it comes to helping people understanding their how much power they have in their own life, and it's a very interesting journey.
Are there labels that you're comfortable using for yourself? You know, a lot of people throw around words like light worker, healer, empath, psychic. Where do you align? How do you describe yourself?
I think when it comes to words and descriptions, it's a bit difficult because all of us have these thoughts around all of these different words. So if I would say a psychic, people would be like, oh, she sees into the future, or a channel, oh, she's like sitting there and get all of this information going through. So I started off naming myself a spiritual coach because I am a coach. I help people solving their problems, and I use spiritual tools. But somehow I also like the word channel because that's how it feels for me. It feels like, and it's been since I was a child, it feels like I can open up and I receive information and it comes through me. It's not only by seeing, but I can feel it coming through my body. So but I also like to, throw all of these different words around because it's not that important. But yeah, I feel like a channel, but I name myself a spiritual coach.
That's wonderful. How did you get started when it comes to like energy work and spirituality?
I feel like I have always been spiritual. I didn't know the words, but I have always had this intuition, just this knowing. I was very, very sensitive child. I didn't understand that I was picking up people's energy. I didn't understand that my darkness was someone else's darkness and I was just picking it up. And it got to a point where I thought I was sick. And the society and my doctor and psychologist, they thought that I was sick because I had this darkness within me. I got into all of these depressions all the time and had a lot of anxiety, and I didn't understand where it came from. So my doctor wanted to give me medication so that I could be more flat, I would say. to get rid of all of this, the darkness and the light, because the contrast was too big. And somehow this voice within me said that you're not sick. And that voice led me to a journey where I found a psychic, and this woman just started speaking like, oh no, you're just getting guidance, and you're here to share the guidance, and you're here to share your voice, and those voices that you hear in your mind, you're not crazy, it's guidance. And when that came through, I just started to listening to that voice instead of trying to get rid of it. And I started sharing my journey on social media. I started a YouTube channel and my Instagram, and I started to speak about what I was experiencing. And when people were listening to my journey, they got inspired and they wanted the same. So they just started contacting me, and I was like, okay, yeah, maybe I can help. And then I started taking some money for it. I'd take like $30, just to like to experience how that would feel. And $30 went to, a little bit more, a little bit more. And then after a while, it was my job to channel for other people and to give them guidance. So that's how it started. It was very dynamic, and it was very just about following the steps that my inner voice was telling me about. So yeah.
Would you say that you grew up in a spiritual household? Like, did your parents instill, or your caretakers, did they talk about God, religion? Were they open to those kind of things?
I would say that my mom was. She teach me about, what is it in English? The whole, like you say, God, Jesus, and the Holy.
It's the Holy Trinity.
Yes, so the
Yes.
spirits.
Yes.
Yeah. And she said that I could pray to the spirit and get protection. And she also told me that when you focus on something, when you truly believe it, it will happen. So somehow she was giving me these tools. And when it came to protection, that was very, when I had a lot of nightmares and I was very afraid in the dark. And when I just prayed for protection, it stopped. And I could see this bubble around me, and I could see these nightmares that was all of these dark energies that I saw. And I thought it was my imagination. And I could see that when they got like next to me, I felt almost attacked. The protection bubble actually protected me. So it was very natural for me to think in that way. And I also told my mom, oh, I just have to ask the angels about this. And she was, oh, how is the angels? So she was very open, even though she didn't do any energy work or she wasn't a psychic, but she was open, and that helped me to stay open. And my dad was a little bit more skeptic. Some people think spirituality and religion is the same and get a bit skeptic when you talk about things that you can't see. But yeah, I when I'm talking now, I see that my mom has a lot to do with me not closing down. Mm.
Do you have any stories from your childhood where you had a spiritual experience and was like, oh, what is this?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to listen to my mom and what she tells me about me as a child, that I was, I had to ask the angels before I could make any decisions. Do you want an ice cream? Wait a minute, I need to ask the angels. And it was very natural for me, but I remember the reaction for people around me. Like when I was playing a card game, I could feel the temperature. What is the highest card and what is the lowest? I was using it as a tool. And people around me were like, this is strange. But I do actually have an experience that I haven't been speaking about before, because something within me still thinks it's weird or it's not possible. But I remember this feeling. I was a lot in the garden in my house, connecting to nature, connecting to the trees. And I remember this feeling of being connected to the wind and the sun and the rain. And when I was truly in this energy that now I would name it like this channel energy, or this, you know, a different dimension. That's how it felt like. It felt like I was communicating with the wind and communicating with the rain, and I could use my hands to start the wind and to stop it. And if it was raining, I could go into this, felt like a meditation somehow. I didn't know it was. I was probably 7 years old, but I could use my hands and the rain would stop. And I haven't been speaking about this before because it's like it's not possible. Like in my mind, it's not possible. But I also remember in that moment that I told myself, never forget this. Never forget that this happened and that it wasn't imagination. It's actually possible. And now I'm thinking, okay, I believe that everything is possible, so maybe it actually happened. But I didn't tell anyone about it because like my mom saw it. She was like, "Alma, can you make it stop rain?" I was like, "Okay."
Oh, I love that. It sounds like alchemy. I don't know,
Mm.
is that the same word in English, Virginia? Or alchemistry?
Alchemy. Yeah, you're right.
Alchemy. Okay, yeah. And I love that you're bringing that up because I also, when I was a kid, I will like imagine I can control like it's cloudy now the clouds are moving, or like rain, or with if you have lights with like a fire and then you focus on it and then it grows and it bends or like go to different sides. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting what you're saying because we have the collaboration between us and energies and nature. Like we are always communicating with each other. We are all always, we have this power to communicate, and we just don't know how to do it, or that we actually have that power. So yeah, it's interesting that you have the same thoughts and feelings around us. Kind of, I don't like the word manipulating the nature, but somehow it's this game between us. Yeah.
Would you say that that's your earliest memory of having some sense of like, oh, this is different? I can do this energy work, even though you didn't have that vocabulary maybe back then. Would you say you were about 7, or do you remember anything even prior to that?
I believe that is the first time I thought this is strange, and the feeling of goosebumps. Like now when I get guidance, I feel these goosebumps. It's a shift of energy. But before that, I saw these small elves, like with wings, and they helped me with, or later actually, they helped me with school. They would point out the answers and stuff. It's fun. But when I was a child, I was confused because I saw these energies, but I could also choose to not see it. Like everything I see is uh, my third eye. It's not my physical eyes. So I was confused because I remember that I was speaking to angels and that I would use the word God. And when I was a kid, me and my sister, we were making this dance, and she was, and when we were going to perform it, we performed it in front of all of these different angels and elves and God, and it was just normal. But also within me, I was like, is this just imagination? Because I know they're not anything physical in front of me. And I can't remember a first experience with that because that's what I got born into, you know? And it's more about when I understood that, what is this? Is this real or not? So that feeling of just having people around me all the time that I could speak to, I can't remember my first memory of that because it was just what I got, was born into. Yeah.
I love that you had elves helping you at school, giving you the answers. Those would have come in handy for me too. Actually, you mentioning that, I've heard this before. So I don't know if you've heard, I'm reading a book called Destiny of Souls by Dr. Michael Newton. And he was a hypnotherapist um, from, let's say, back in the 90s, early 2000s. And I think he gathered a collection of stories from his patients that he would put under hypnosis and have them talk about their lives or their consciousness before incarnating. And this woman was talking about seeing elves she owned a vineyard, and the elves would tell her the properties of the soil that would produce the best wine. And so she thought she was going crazy. But when she talked about it and she said, yeah, I know how I sound, but this is what the elves are telling me. And the thing was that pretty soon she started producing this really amazing wine. And people were like, wait a minute, what's the secret here? Then they started taking her seriously, and then they started to believe her. But anyways, it's interesting to hear you talk about the little elves and how they helped. And there's little beings around that are helpful. And then also, to your point about the, I've heard the term planetary healer also come up, and he mentions it in his book about certain souls on Earth being able to commune with the elements here on Earth, wind, fire, water, all the elements to help heal the planet. And so I think it's interesting that you're bringing up all these things. I'm remembering from other people's stories as well, and a collection of other people's experiences. Did you know, or have you ever heard of other people that shared the same experiences with you and they said, oh my goodness, Alma, that sounds like something that happened to me too? Have you had that happen, or has it been pretty solo for you, not having that experience?
Yeah, like first of all, it's so magical when it comes to internet, because I can share this with you and you can tell me that I'm not crazy or that other people are experiencing the same things, and I appreciate that. And I felt like I had an awakening 5 or 4 years ago. So even though I've been open and kind of spiritual my whole life, I had this moment when I understood that people are experiencing the same things as me. And that's what I feel when it comes to that question, that I started going to my journals and I was exploring what have I been writing, because like when it comes to the elves, I thought I was just making it up. Yes, I saw them and I could see how they was pointing out different answers and all of this, but I was like, I'm making it up. It's a tool that I made for myself and my subconsciousness. And so I went through my diary and I could see that I was painting people and these energy centers in their body. And I was like, this is the place where the potential lays. And I could see this golden bubble in the middle of their stomach. And I could also see this blue energy going through the whole body and the blockages and all of this. And when I looked back and I started to use the internet to find out, like, is this something? I was reading about chakras, that people were seeing chakras. And I was like, oh my God, I've been painting this in my diary before. And that was my awakening, to see that the things that I've been seeing and experiencing through my whole life, someone on the other side of the world have been seeing it as well, and they have put names on it. So now I have a vocabulary that I can actually explain what I see. And for me to get that vocabulary was a game changer, because it goes from I am psycho to this is teachings, this is wisdom. And people have been talking about this and seeing this and experiencing this thousands of years back in the history. So, and still that happens. Like today, I tell you about something that I haven't been telling anyone about, and you say, oh, this is a thing. Okay, great. Now I can Google it. And maybe I could connect to those powers again because they are within me.
That's incredible. I know that you're also working with human design. Would you like to talk a little bit about that? And for people that doesn't really know what human design is.
So the basis of what I do is to help people connect to their intuition, as I said. And there's many ways into that. And I believe that when it comes to human design and astrology and all of these different tools, that the most important thing is always to listen to what's within you. So sometimes we read something and we feel a dissonance, and it's like, nah, this doesn't fit, then don't take it. And when I got introduced to human design, I felt something within me. It was a resonance, and I felt, this describes me. And there were some, it was like a puzzle that suddenly it fit, suddenly I realized I'm not sick. I just have a different energy than other people. Or, wow, there's gifts that I have. Like they are gifts, and I'm here to use them. And I also believe that since I'm seeing people's chakras, human design did fit into my intuition, because chakras is also a part of human design. So it fit with how my intuition is speaking to me. And this system is based on when you were born, like astrology. So it wasn't a coincidence, the timing when you were born. You needed a specific energy to get into this world. And human design can help you understand, okay, how can I use my energy in a good way so you don't get a burnout? People are different energy types. Some people are here to do the hard work, and some people are here to lean back and use their amount of energy on very specific tasks. Some people are here to lead, some people are here to build. And these concepts, or this tool, can help us to understand, how can I be more aligned with my energy, and where are my gifts, and what are my challenges, like where do I need to understand myself better, so that I don't go into the world and going on the same mistakes again and again. So for me, it just helps me to, now I can meet someone and I kind of know their chart. I know they have an open root and a defined heart center, because I feel it. And that's why I love it, because it connects with my intuition.
We've been hearing a lot about human design lately. It's something that Stina and I noticed with a lot of our guests are bringing it up. And so we're very curious just to continue to learn more. So thank you so much for sharing all that. What do you think is like the most misunderstood thing about spirituality and about energy work? Like in your experience, what do you think people misunderstand the most about it?
I feel the biggest misunderstanding is that people think there is spiritual people and this other group, and that we have different talents, like you can heal, I cannot. You're a psychic, I'm not. You are connected to God, I am not. All of us, we all have an intuition. We can all heal. We're all psychics. We can all channel. We have all of these abilities. We have all of these talents and gifts. And I feel that there are these words, that is walls, that, okay, you name it God, I name it nature. And I believe that all people are spiritual. We all have a soul, and we all have a spirit, and all of us are following our intuition in our daily lives. We just put different words on it. We name it differently. So I believe the biggest misunderstanding is that we are so different. Oh my God, you're on a different planet than me. No, I'm just explaining it differently. And for me, I got into spirituality because I just wanted to be more happy. I had a very dark mind. I was very depressed, and my way into spirituality was that I found tools that helped me. It wasn't about crystals. It wasn't about, oh, it's so fun to have this Palo Santo and talking to ghosts. It was tools to help me live a better life. And that is also a misunderstanding, that it's all about this image. I want to be a spiritual. I want to be a witch. when that is just a byproduct, it's all about self-development.
You have also talked a little bit about on your Instagram that you're following your natural cycle and then you choose when you are going to work and when you are going to rest. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So a part of this darkness that I was feeling for a long time in my life, I had a couple of days every month where I got really, really dark. And, life felt just hopeless, meaningless. I didn't want to be here. And after a couple of years, I understood that, oh, wow, okay, this happens every single month. And I realized that it always happened just before my period. So that was the first step to understand, oh shit, this has something to do with my period. It's not my life falling apart every single month. And for me, it was so intense. Even though I connected it to my period, it was still so intense, that darkness. So I went to my doctor, and once again, I got medication because I was actually afraid that it would take my life just those days before my period. And it has a name, it's PDD. And you can think about it as PMS, but just extreme version. And it was in my mind, not that I had a lot of pain, but it was pain in my mind and my soul. And I then after a while also realized that there is this other days in the month where I have a lot of energy. I had this height. I felt this energy going through my body, and I was so optimistic. And that's, what is it in English? Ovulating. That's the word. Yeah. And for me, since my passion and purpose is to following my intuition and my body and my rhythm, it was so clear for me that I have to also listen to this rhythm, this physical rhythm, when it come to my period and ovulation. I'm two different people those 2 weeks in the month. And when I started listening to my body instead of trying to fit in, so before my menstruation, I was leaning more back. Okay, no, I'm not going to work today. I'm going to take a rest. I'm going to take care of my body. I'm going to listen to myself. It didn't go that far. I didn't feel the same amount of anxiety. I didn't feel the darkness. I didn't feel the meaningless feeling and the feeling of being just hopeless. And I realized that, okay, so this period in the month, like these days before menstruation, I am very, very sensitive, just very open. So if I push myself into working at the restaurant, I was trying that, and it was just so painful because I was so sensitive. And it felt like I was absorbing all of the darkness and all of the stress in the world. So when I lean back and I take care of myself, I protect my energy, I listen to myself, I don't go there. And for me, understanding that shit, all of us, when it comes to females, all of us, we have this physical rhythm, and we're living in a society that is built on the man's body. It felt so important for me to start speaking up about that, speaking up and talk about how our society is not built for women, and that when we are able and we have the freedom to listening to our body, a lot of issues goes away. So it's important for me, and now that I am more confident when it comes to embracing all of the different parts in me, it's easier for me to actually work when I have my period, because I'm able to say, I have my period right now and I'm pretty down and I don't have a lot of energy, and that's fine. Before, I thought I had to have this facade and I had to be super happy even though I felt sad. So it's a very interesting journey, and I also feel like my hormones are now more stable because I take better care of myself. So the ups and downs is not that big anymore.
That's wonderful and so inspiring. I think there's so many women out there that feels they have to follow the rhythm of the society while their body is actually telling them like no, like it's the reason we have the cycle. It's the reason we have the hormones we have, and that we should listen to it and actually take care of our own body. And I was wondering about when you first discover it and starting sharing this information, do you feel like you got a lot of judgment or people being like, oh, but that is an excuse because you should be able to do this and this, or the expectations that we have or the society has?
Yes, it was very interesting actually because I've been speaking up about spirituality for 4 or 5 years now, and I haven't been feeling a lot of judgmental people, because I speak from my heart and it feels like people are respecting that. But this theme has been so different. And it might be because I'm only speaking about women and that this is not built for us. And the reaction is, but what about men? We also have mental issues and we also have all of these different fights and we're not happy. And it's not about that, you know? Um, we also need to work with men's mental health, of course. And for me, saying that this system isn't made for women and that we need to change it and we need to give more space for women to be women, that's not a critic when it comes to men. And I don't say that the system is perfect for men. So I feel like people sometimes want to misunderstand me, and I don't get offended by it because I see that this is just emotions that they need to get out and they want to put it on me. But it's just been very interesting to see the fire. And when I see that fire, when I see that many reactions, I know this is important. We are touching something very important. And that's why I have to keep on speaking up about it.
Well, we just interviewed, Stina and I just interviewed a woman who is a perimenopause doula. And so she's like, saying exactly the same things as you, which I'm finding fascinating because I feel like we're doing the same interview on this topic again. And she's, like myself, we're older women in perimenopause and menopause phase. You're a younger woman starting out in your life, and it feels like opposite ends of the same spectrum, but like talking about exactly the same thing. She said the same thing to us. We are women who need to listen more to our bodies, respect our bodies more, be more aware of ourselves, and be graceful and kinder to ourselves because we're trying to function in a patriarchal society. She said the same thing. You're not alone. So there's people, while you have people that maybe are combative, maybe you are lighting something up. Maybe they're feeling threatened by the information. I don't know. It's interesting. You're getting those reactions, but there are many women who are on the same page as you are. So I find it really inspiring to see yourself as a young person already taking charge of your body and saying, I am not going to follow the rules that you guys made because I had nothing to do with those rules. And then you're going to start to, speak up, and you've been doing that so that other women and younger women than yourself are going to start listening and being like, wow, she's fighting the system. I think I'll do the same thing. Or maybe by then you've already changed the society's expectations about what women should be doing. So I just find it really interesting. We've had back-to-back interviews now about this.
Yeah, that is very interesting because it's the same when you are turning 50 and you go through this phase of, your hormones are changing. I was attending a show, or I was watching a show, a Norwegian comedian that made a whole show about that phase. And it was so interesting sitting there realizing I don't know anything about the women body and the changes in hormones and what it the effect, you know? And I was speaking about that with my boyfriend as well. I told him that, you know, all of this information when it comes to ovulation and menstruation and the hormones changing, and I I learned this by Googling and researching. No one teach us this at school. And I was like, what? It's like, yeah, every time I speak up about the menstrual cycle and everything it impacts, girls get a knowledge for the first time. Like, what? Am I different in the different weeks in the month? Yes, you are. And he was in shock, understanding that no one teach us this. Like, we have never learned it. And it's just, it's interesting and frustrating at the same time.
It is. Have you any advice for people that is interested in spirituality, but they're like just starting to dip their toe into this universe, I guess?
Yeah. Well, for me, the first step was to understanding myself. And I think that is for everyone. You can listen to so many different coaches and teachers and podcasts and videos, but it all comes down to what happening inside you. Who are you? How is your intuition speaking to you? And I feel that a big and important step is to write diary. Like, how do I feel? What is happening within me? And start to take notes when it comes to what do I feel being with this person? And what do I feel being with this person? What do I feel when I read this book? What do I feel when I read this book? Because your intuition is always speaking to you. And when you start to notice that something is happening within you when you make different choices and when you make different, okay, I go to the left instead of the right. When you make these decisions, something happens within you. And when you notice that, you are getting connected to your intuition. Oh, I feel a spark when I read this book. And I feel very down when I read this one. Okay, there's some guidance here. Continue reading that book because there's a message there. Oh, I feel very light when I think about this job. And I feel this empty feeling when I think about this job. Okay, follow that one that give you this sense of spark. And that, I believe, is the most important step, because it doesn't matter how much you know if you don't know how to feel, if you don't know who you are and how your intuition is speaking to you.
Are there any books or podcasts that you would recommend to people that have inspired you along the way?
Yes, so I loved the book, The Celestine Prophecy, because it's a book that feels like not fantasy, but it's this story that you can follow. It's fiction. So you get this sense of, oh, okay, I'm reading a fun book. And while you are reading it, you are following the transformation of a person. And I feel that that's such a good way to learn, to follow people's journey instead of just, oh, another teaching. And that book also teaches you about frequency, how to get on a higher frequency, and about synchronicities, that when you feel pulled to something or someone, there's a message there. And that's so important. So for me, that book it's been important for my own journey, and I feel it's very nice, especially in the beginning of people's spiritual journey, when you also want some entertainment. And right now, I just found a podcast named Wisdom from North. It's a Norwegian podcast, and she is interviewing people from the whole world. And the people she's interviewing is channels and psychics, and it's very nice to listen to different channels and realizing that we are all getting the same messages, because that's what this is all about. That me and a person on the other side of the world are getting the same messages. And every single time we hear this wisdom, we hear that, oh, wow, she sees the same as me. We start to remembering who we actually are, and we start to remember our past lives. We remember wisdom that is so deep within our soul. It's not on a conscious level. So that podcast, I started listening to it for just a month ago, and now both me and my boyfriend, we put on an episode every time we go working out. So we are like, oh, at the gym and listening to this wisdom. So yeah, Wisdom from North is a very nice podcast. Yeah.
I love that. I have a question, a very big question, so it's up to you if you wanna answer it or not. But where do you think we come from before our human experience?
Wow. Well, it's interesting because I feel that is where I'm at right now. I'm trying to understand this because it feels like I have a physical memory that I am from something we can call space or God. It's just an energy. It's not a place. It's not a different planet. It's a feeling that I want to say it's a feeling of being God. And when I connect to that feeling of a place that I want to call home, I almost get emotional because under for me having a human body, I it's hard for me. It's easier now, but before I could not understand that I had a human body, and I could not understand why I was here. It didn't make sense for me. And that's also why I was afraid of that if it went too dark, I would leave this planet because I've never been scared of dying. For me, dying has always been oh, I just want to be energy. I don't want to be locked down into this body. So when I connect to where did I come from, almost get emotional because I start missing it and I don't know what it is. It's this longing, like, can I come home soon? And for me, this spiritual journey has been a lot about embracing being a human being and realizing that it's just a game and you can have fun. You're just here to experience, go to the play yard and just like have some fun. And oh, when you eat something, enjoy it. It's all about enjoying what you can experience with your senses because that's unique. Having senses is unique. Going through a process is unique. Being just energy is not unique. That's everything is energy, is unique to actually be locked into a body. And that's for me still a journey because it's about grounding. Okay, I need to ground myself so I can want to be in this body on this planet. So I can't say that we come from this dimension or this planet or this system, but it's just a feeling of love, that we come from this place of love, this dimension of love, where there's no walls, there's no you and me, it's just home. It's strange because I can only feel it. I cannot even see it. It's just a feeling. Yeah.
I feel you. I also have the same thing with like sometimes I can walk outside and just look up in the sky and then I'm like, but I miss home. But I
Mm.
don't know like exactly what it is, but the fact of being in this body, I know we should embrace it and be present and enjoy this time we are humans, but at the same time, it is dichotomies where it's like, where it's joy, it's also pain. Yeah, I forgot where I was going, but it just reminds me also of a song from Kesha where it's a spaceship. I don't know if you heard that song. Have the same feeling when I listen to it. It's like they're coming up to pick me, like from this body up to the universe again. And it's just like freeing in a way to think about it like one day we are going back again, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense. And I feel that's also why spiritual awakening is a bit hard, because you feel, when you start to realize that you're not just a human being, I feel like everyone goes through this period where everything feels just meaningless, like there's no point. And I think it's important to talk about that period, because there's a period of kind of a depression. You've been in this life where your ego had been, oh, this is important, and fight for that, and be that, and be passionate, and suddenly you realize that you're just energy, and what's the point? And that's why sometimes a spiritual awakening can be almost a little bit dangerous, because okay, I'm just energy, so what can I do to get free from this body, when it's all about enjoying being in this body? And that's why grounding, I feel grounding is so important when it comes to spiritual work. It's everything. And everyone wants to get higher, 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 and meditate higher. And I want to get to this dimension, this dimension. And I would say that without grounding, it's dangerous. So there is a danger when it comes to this awakening. But yeah, I feel the same as you, that this, I feel almost all of star seeds and light workers and people who's here to spread light. There is this, also this longing for coming home, and also excitement to get back there.
You've mentioned grounding now a couple times, and you've just talked about how important it is. And I'm really curious about what, if you're okay sharing, like what kind of things help you ground? Like, how do you connect more to earth and being in your body?
I would say that it's just the last years that I've been grounded for the first time. It felt like I've been outside of my body almost my whole life. I was like, how can I only be 7 years old? I was looking at myself from the outside and playing with kids and be like, there's something strange here. You know, I had this connection with my soul. And I went to a osteopath. I don't know if that's the English word. And after that session, she was just pressing on my body. I felt grounded for the first time in my life. And it was a feeling of looking through my own eyes instead of from the outside. And not that I see everything from the outside, but there's a feeling of me being outside my body. And when I was inside my own body and I was looking through my own eyes, it was almost a bit intimidating. I didn't even, she was too close. It was too, yeah, intimidating, intimate. And I then realized, okay, Alma, maybe you've been visualizing some roots coming through your feet and ground you. You're not grounded. And there's different things that helps me to ground. The first thing is to pay attention to my senses. So when I eat, I want to pay attention to what's happening inside my mouth. And I was living in Bali for 1.5 years. That was before my awakening. And they are always eating with their hands. And I love that because you get connected to the food in such a different way. So I was using my hands and then using your tongue and just really feeling what you are eating. And and when I drink, okay, pay attention to my hand around the glass or the bottle. And when you walk, pay attention to the sounds. And that's for me the easiest way to get grounded, because when there's so much happening inside our minds and there's so much distraction, it can be hard to sit down and meditate, but it's not hard to eat and it's not hard to go for a walk. So I feel that paying attention to your senses is the fastest way to get into your body and into the now. And for just a week or two ago, I went to a course and I learned a new way to ground myself, and it's to visualize this tunnel coming like this, yeah, this tunnel coming down from your hips, from your hips, and visualizing that all of your thoughts, overthinking, this chaos, you can just send it down. And you can also do that by just, instead of trying to push away all of this overthinking and stress, push it down through your body and down through the earth. And for me, that helps because often I try to push it up out of my head, and that's when anxiety hits, because you're holding, and instead of holding, push down. Oh, I'm not grounded now. Okay, push all of this energy down and through your feet. And then for me, some magic happens when I do that. And I love to visualize that I have a tail coming, like my tailbone is a tail and it's connected to the earth. And all of these small things, just do it when you brush your teeth, do it when you're showering, or when you're on the bathroom, do it, do it when you're on the train, just visualize this tail coming down and that you're sending all of your shit through your feet. Yeah.
I love that. Virginia and I, we took the same class, or both of us have done the same class when it comes to clairvoyance. And we learned that the first thing was grounding and actually using this tube from your first chakra or your tailbone into the center of Earth and connect to Mother Earth and just
Yes.
send everything down, everything
Yes.
you're clearing and stuff like that. And she's like more than happy to take it and to take this energy and make it something else or like recycle it in a way. So I love that.
Yeah, and that tool that you're talking about now, it's so effective. I do it even on the dog. And visualizing this grounding exercise, and it's different from anything I have done before. It actually works. So yeah, that's cool. It's just the same going through in the middle of the earth, and the earth need energy as well. So yeah.
How can people connect with you? Are you offering any classes, or how do you work with people?
So right now, what I do is I have a spiritual community and a spiritual app called the Purpose Club. And that's what I do for a living right now. I've been working as a coach, and what I did was, after a while I saw all of these different people. They were talking about the same issues. And and I saw a pattern. And I felt like, why should I repeat myself again and again? Because there's so different tools that everyone needs. Grounding is one of them. So I wanted to put all of these different tools into one place so you can have it in your pocket. And when you have an issue, you know how to solve it yourself. You don't need me to do it. And I also saw that these women, they said the same thing. They was like, I feel so alone. And it was hard for me listening to these hundreds of women telling me they felt alone. And I do not have, I can't tell anyone that I'm your coach. So I can tell you, you should talk to this person because um, I don't know the word in English, but I'm not allowed to bring your information out to other people. So I felt like I have to create something that can connect all of these different women, because you don't have to be alone in this journey. Yes, it's a part of it. It's a part of your spiritual awakening to be a little bit alone, to understand who you are. But there's other people going through the same as you and believing the same as you do. And when I went through my awakening, I missed that sense of, a community or a place where everything is, where you get these courses and the tools, but you also have the community with like-minded people. And that is the Purpose Club. So I feel so grateful to being able to host that place, and that it's a part of my journey to create it, because I don't know how I did it. to yes, I'm technical, but it felt like I just been guided. And it's amazing to see all of this connection now, and that when we come together and activate our lights, the light gets so much bigger. So you can find all of the information on my Instagram. Like, my Instagram is where I feel the most, connected to when it comes to sharing what I'm doing and sharing the courses and my offers. And it's just Alma Skolmen. And there you can also find the Purpose Club. So I also have a website, almaskolmen.com, but right now I am not taking in any clients. So you don't have to check that out, actually, because there's nothing to find. So yeah, I would say my Instagram and the Purpose Club. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And then I just want to say, like, you're doing such an incredible and an important job. Like, think about so many people that you're helping, and you're creating this community where most of them probably would have felt alone. And maybe, like, I can imagine going through this process, it can be very isolating, and it can be a lot of fear of what are people going to think about me, what if I say this and they judge me, or like, because I know we have a little bit different time where people wake up. So somebody might be on their journey where their awakening is very early, while their awakening is later in life. Or some people go through life not getting a grasp of it as well. So thank you so much for everything you're doing, and that you took the time to be on this podcast. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And this is so important because we have the same mission and we need to help each other getting there. And I am nothing without you guys, and you're nothing without me. It's a community, it's a movement. And I'm very grateful for being able to be here with you guys today, and keep up the good work. It's so important to have a channel like this, because you channel lights and you help people channel their lights, and you are channeling your lights. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Vision Chat. You can find more about us at visionofprofoundhealing.com, where we offer readings, courses, and classes.